Question 3, any godly couple book recommendations? Well, I actually have one that we've read with me right now. How We Love.
Whoa.
This is by, I'm not exactly sure how to say his last name. Do you want to give it a go?
Yurkovich.
I think it's Yurkovich. But it's called How We Love, and
It's a phenomenal book.
Isaac wants to talk about it.
Probably one of the best books when it breaks down practical examples of, love conflicts that we have. You're the therapist, so you're much better at explaining this, but the reason why it was so helpful for me is it opens up my eyes to see, wow, this is kind of patterns of what I can fall into that are negative and how it affects other people, and being able to see and have that self-awareness is so important to create healthy dialogue. So to me, it really opened up my eyes to have better communication with conflict, what I'm bringing to the table in a negative sense, and how to express need, etc. It's a good book.
Yeah, so we grew a lot from reading this book, actually. Isaac introduced it to me, he had read it, so then I read it, and it kind of points out 4 different I want to say attachment styles, but I don't know if that's what they call it in this book, but basically like how you respond to conflict and how you respond to hard conversations and that kind of thing. And a lot of it has to do with how you grew up, how you responded to things when you were younger, how your family dynamics kind of raised you to be. So it helps you understand yourself a little bit more and how you react to things in a relationship, because when you're in a relationship, things come up and you just kind of react to them sometimes, and they can create these cycles and these patterns that can be pretty hard to get out of when you're just kind of operating out of just how you've always acted towards everything. And so instead of staying in those cycles, it kind of helps you realize, okay, am I avoidant in conflict? Do I go back and forth in conflict? Do I challenge people like a lot in conflict, or do I play a victim role in conflict, that kind of thing. And it really helps you understand that and how you work with other personalities as well. Do you have any other books that we've read?
Keeping Your Love On is a great book.
Yeah.
That I would also highly recommend. It kind of breaks down similar themes. It's a little more like practical daily examples of, basically, you choose love. Love isn't something that just stays around every single moment. And so learning how to choose love, the importance of that, and then, steady examples of how you can practically do that, setting, schedule, etc.
Yeah, that one's more like practical everyday stuff that you can just implement. I think it's called, it's Turn Your Love On, or Keep Your Love On. How to Keep Your Love On. There's a light bulb on the cover. Keep Your Love On. Danny Silk. That's the one. So I think those are the 2 books that we've learned the most from. One that I always love is The Meaning of Marriage by Tim Keller. 1, because I love Tim Keller. 2, just because it also has some really practical examples, and I feel like it realistically talks about relationships and marriage in a very honest way, and I feel like it's sometimes hard to find books that are very, very transparent like that one is. So I recommend that one as well.
Brene Brown.
Yeah.
She talks about vulnerability and transparency, and I really like that book.
Yeah, and that book is called Daring Greatly by Brene Brown. So many books. We love books. Read books. Do you think it's a good idea for couples to meet with a counselor before they're even engaged? If so, why? So I'm in school to become a marriage and family therapist, so I'm actually even doing premarital counseling with some clients right now, and so I understand how meeting together with a counselor before you're engaged can seem like too much or something to some people, but ultimately with therapy, I think there's a lot of stigma around you needing a significant problem, or you need something that's pretty bad to go into therapy, and I actually really disagree with that. I think we have this idea that when we go into therapy, it's really scary, and they're gonna take all these things about our relationship or about us as people and throw them in our face and make us really uncomfortable, or attack us in some way. I know I've had those fears walking into a therapy room before, because it's just, you don't know what's gonna happen. So it's pretty scary and you feel really vulnerable, and you're literally paying someone to help you walk through some really hard stuff. But at the same time, I've seen how it's totally worth it. I think therapists are some of the most like kind and comfortable people I've ever met. They're never going to make you feel scared, or like you have to open up your entire past like right then and there in front of them. They're usually pretty gracious and pretty gentle, and they've been trained in how to do that. And so I just want to destigmatize therapy in general. And if there's anyone out there that is scared to go, or thinks that you have to have like a really severe problem to go, I just want to let you know that's not the case at all. If you just want to talk through something, I think that's enough reason to go. They're not going to do anything weird. They're just people, and they're there to talk to you and help you if you're going through something that you want like a third party opinion on, or someone who's not as biased on. Going before engagement, I don't have an answer on that. I think it depends on like what you're going through as a couple and what you think you need. I don't think there's a right or wrong to it at all. So if you think that's like too serious for where you are in your relationship, maybe that there's like merit to that. But at the same time, I don't think going to a counselor is going to make things more or less serious. I think it's just going to help you guys figure out how you respond to each other as a couple, and like process through why you do that. And even if you don't stay together, it might help you do that better in your next relationship too. So I don't think going to a counselor before engagement is going to like screw anything up or make you in an uncomfortable place. So that's only my opinion.
Boom.
Could be wrong.
Case by case, every person's different. You kind of have to make that decision through what you're going through.
Right. And also therapy can be really expensive, and so I also know that's a reason why a lot of people don't like to go. They don't always think it's worth it. There's ways you can find cheaper therapy though. So if you're worried about the cost, I would look into ways to find someone who's even free, like an intern or something like that. That's what I do currently, free therapy. So it is out there and it's possible to find.
Free is my favorite word.
Me too.
Let's roll.
Next question is...
Next question.
Okay. How do you talk through hard conversations?
That's a good question. I personally think the best way is you just run away. Best way, I'm going to jump in and answer this one.
Isaac's actually really good at this, so I want him to answer first.
I'm okay.
He is really good.
I think the biggest thing that I've learned is we always, growing up, we always lived by this one principle. Don't let the sun set while you still have wrath, while you're still angry. So always have short accounts, always go to people, and before you carry on to the next day, make sure that if you're angry or there's wrath in your heart, you go and you find that apology. So by doing that, you keep really short accounts so you don't have this bitterness that builds up. And in a relationship, it's a lot easier to build up small offenses. So super important, I think, to make sure that before each night, you have a place of, let's bring our heart and bring it back into the same place. Let's be in the same connection. Let's not carry bitterness the next day. And a lot of the reason why I think the best mindset is to remember, in a relationship, you're both on the same team. When you go into a conversation and you're hurt, if you take a step back and look, that hurt directly comes because my pride was hurt. So you have to walk into humility, and the only way you can be vulnerable is if it's from a humble place. So knowing you're on the same team, humbling yourself, realizing where you might be at fault, not blaming the other person, but saying, hey, what this did, this is how I feel. I feel not connected to you, which makes me sad. By having that conversation versus you didn't do a good job at this and that makes me angry. Why can't you do better? Versus the real issues, I'm sad that we're not connected. How do we find a place that we can be close together? So that takes a lot of practice because it's so easy to want to jump out when you're angry. But the only way you can find resolution is when you humble yourself to really find the soft emotions of what does it take for us to be close together. And honestly, you can win an argument and lose a heart. And I think that's the saddest thing, is when you prioritize truth over love. And so you're more about, I want to be right versus I want connection. So
yeah, that's good.
Boom.
I think even adding on to that, a lot of times when we're upset and we're angry, we can like use these emotions that are like threatening. So we can say, I'm angry at you, or I'm frustrated at you, or I'm mad at you, or like you made me like so upset. But like when we take a step back and we look under that and we're like, hey, like I'm hurt because I want to be close to you, and I feel like this makes us feel less close. So I'm actually hurt right now. Instead of saying I'm angry right now, it's like you're probably angry, but there's hurt underneath that anger. And when you come to that person with what we call like soft emotions, they're so much more receptive because you're not like attacking them or blaming them for how you feel. You're just saying, this is just how I feel. It doesn't really matter if it seems valid or not to what happened, but it's valid because I feel this way. And then just responding with compassion because you're like, oh, like I want to be close too. Like I don't want to hurt you. I care about you. So I think that has been really helpful. But yeah, hard conversations are just what they're called. They're really hard, so our emotions can get out of hand sometimes, and those things we can like know in our head to do, but then we don't actually do them. So I think even sometimes it's good to, if a conversation isn't going somewhere that's really positive, to take a break and then come back to that conversation and to make sure you resolve it well and you don't just walk away from it because you're tired of talking about it. I think if you get to that point of where you're just like, ugh, like I just don't want to talk about this anymore, like take a break if you need to, but come back to resolution, because if you don't resolve it, it's just gonna fester and it's gonna come out in different ways later, and that's super not fun. So
the biggest takeaway is all of this takes a long time to really master. So I just want to encourage you guys, it's not something that we're doing perfectly right now. It's really, we just see the right road signs and we know this is the right path. And so, you know, there's a lot of times you detour, you get off the road, and it's really learning how to get back on and just follow advice. I think reading those books really given us some really good guiding signs of how to do a relationship well, how to stay connected, you know, and fight for connection. I legitimately think that there's nothing better than a connected relationship.
Yeah, and just to know too, like leaning into those hard things that are uncomfortable, like conversations that are hard or conflict, you choose to do those things to be closer to that person. You choose to do those things because you care about them and because you know your relationship's worth it. So if you guys are in a place right now where your relationship feels hard, or you don't understand each other, or you feel like arguments aren't being resolved well, I would just encourage you guys to lean into those things, even if you feel like you don't know how to do it well. Reach out to resources or people that can help you with that, because it's so worth it to lean into the stuff that's hard and just love that person more at the end of the day. So I think we've really experienced that through doing those things. So
boom. Guys, thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you all next time.
Thanks for watching. Bye.